We were a very dedicated little group of people. We would just have to work with what we had. We were all little island girls, island boys that grew up running on the Iron Shore. So for fun on your summers, what you would do was do a challenge: who could run across the Iron Shore without shoes. And that's basically how it started.
Me and her always used to go on the Iron Shore anyway. I love fishing, so we'll always go barefoot. So even though things got more harder on the road, we decided that we'll take the Iron Shore for a term, and then let's see how that feels. So we just used to travel on the Iron Shore a bit by running.
Start with a simple invite. Well, you ran well today. Okay, well, you want to come out, you want to join a club, and it just started from meeting after school, and it went from there. It was no science to it, and it came easy to me, and I enjoyed it.
I must have been about 10 when they put together a team in the middle school, and I just joined up with the team.
When I come to school, I always used to have my t-shirt and my shorts underneath my uniform. I always used to be geared up, you know, for lunchtime, training time. When my coach Jerry Harper would get us out there and do the 2-mile run around South Sound and back to the school at the middle school. It was middle school at that time.
When I was younger, I've always had that gift in me, you know, to be a runner. From the West Bay Primary School days, you know, on the sports days and stuff. And eventually when I graduated and came to the middle school, I did found a coach, and that special coach was Mr. Jerry Harper.
Mr. Harper was the man behind all of us, especially me. I mean, if without him I wouldn't have done what I did. I wouldn't have seen half of the world and a lot of Caribbean, a lot of the States, a lot of traveling at a very young age.
He was just the mastermind, the masterpiece for me and the rest of the girls and also the guys. Even though when we didn't have a ride home, even to West Bay, he used to take us one by one on his bike back and forth to make sure, even on a Sunday, you know, so he went that all out. He just didn't went a half of a mile or a quarter of a mile. He just went all out.
Tony Scott, who had a blue Pinto, who would come to West Bay every morning, pick up about 6 kids with the hatch up, and we'd hold up a piece of stick. And we'd do our rounds, and we'd head up to Lion Free Bay and start our training for the Sunday morning.
That was a team. That was a really, really good team, you know, to be traveling from off of the Cayman Islands, you know, and going Georgia 2 times, South Carolina, Bahamas, Kingston, Jamaica, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami.
We were like sisters. And, you know, whatever was to have to be done, we told each other what to be done. Even when we run, we always try to pace with each other.
We were all very close, but we all had different strengths. We did 3 different parts of track and field, but when we came together, it was just the same. Almost every month or 6 to 8 weeks, we were somewhere running a 10K, or North Carolina, Florida, doing camps at the University of Gainesville. It just became very, very big, and it was largely expats, bank managers who were part of back then we called the Hash House Harriers, which was a very big expat running group because locals didn't do distance. So we became part of those, not really members, but we ran with them. They provided our coaching and our support as far as getting money to always take us abroad. And there was a lot of help from these gentlemen who took out the time on a Sunday morning or a Monday evening in their yellow shirts to run with a bunch of kids, and often at times I think we were a challenge to them as well, to try and get them to go a bit faster.
It didn't really matter to us. It was just excited to other people to see, and then they would ask us to lift up our feet, let them see.
The people that would come out to see us, we got on TV and we come out to see these little kids from the islands running barefoot. They were just speechless, like how do you do it? After a while we could be, if we wanted, not the Barefoot Brigade, because we got access to lots of running shoes.
It was always good to travel with the team, travel with the other girls on the team and some of the guys as well. We always had a lot of fun when we went on those trips. It was hard running, yes, but we did enjoy it. it's nice to know that we were able to start something and that it encouraged other kids to try to do the same thing or go far and above.
It was dedication. You know you had to be up at 6. Not one day, not 2 days, but maybe 5. You know you had to do your schoolwork, then go to after school activities, then train for sports. And that was every day, all day. There was no excuses. Unless you were sick with a fever, you had to be out there and you had to prove it. There was no faking. And it teaches you that success is never easy. So if you want to achieve, you got to work hard at it.
The biggest influence in general was my mom. Very strong, very strong woman. I think that's part of where I get my strong personality from, but she was definitely a positive influence in my life before any sporting heroine came in. I don't think back then when I started track I necessarily had one particular. I think I had a lot. I like Merlin Otti, the Gale Devers. Those were, as a track, up-and-coming track athletes, those were some of the athletes that I look up to. But in terms of someone who had a serious impact in my life as a woman, I would definitely have to say it would be my mom. Like any teenager, youngster, I thought I wanted to do what my friends were doing, so I wanted to play, which I did. I played netball, I played basketball, I played football, and somehow she would always find me and tell me, I have to come back to the track. And eventually I did. Eventually I took it serious, but I thought, I was a basketball player, I thought I was a football player, but it all came back to speed. I was always being complimented on my speed. It was a big deal. We were in serious training mode, and it's totally different from how kids prepare themselves when we had curve to here. Not saying that it wasn't good, but back then it was serious business because it was the first time we were having a staging of such, and Cayman had to put on a show. And we weren't 20 deep, but the small team that we had, we really did excel. I went to Jamaica when they had curve to there, and I wasn't a favorite going in because, as you know, even back then the Jamaicans were a force to reckon with. And I won the 100 and the 200 meter and went on to win the Austin Sealy. And my mom was in the stand, my aunt, so it was a big deal. I had very fond memory that year. I think it was the year I realized that, I'm kind of good at this, so that's definitely my fondest. Those are two of my fondest memories. But the first one would definitely be making the Olympics finals in Beijing. I tried so many times, and I got criticism so many times that I didn't do this right, and then I went back and did something else wrong. And so making the Beijing finals, I couldn't even care less what lane I got. If I'd got lane 9, just the fact that I was a finalist at the Olympic Games, that was a major accomplishment for me in my professional career. I just felt that sports was my way out, and no one was going to stop me from achieving what I thought I could achieve. I just stuck with it even when I failed, and as you know, I failed quite a few times, but I just had this drive that if my mom told me, I don't think you should do it, or, why don't you're trying too hard, it wasn't going to stop me because something inside just says, not yet, not yet. So I'm glad that I'm in a position to inspire, although that's not how I started out. And yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. Through sports, there are a lot of stuff that a young woman from my background probably wouldn't have been able to access. And sports has given me that. It's given me this platform where I'm able to hopefully encourage others to say that no matter what your background is, no matter where you're coming from, no matter who your parents are, that it's okay to dream, and it's okay to have that dream, because that's how I started. I want to see the athletes here thrive, and if there's anything that I can do, I'm always here to extend my hand, definitely.
Cayman National Bank has been supporting sports in our community for 40 years by providing resources, support, and rewards for our youth athletes and weekend warriors. Developing our residents, young and old, through sports is a key area of our team's focus. Cayman National Bank proudly support Cayman sports now and into the future.
I got involved in sports from an early age, in high school, as a matter of fact. I'm coming from a family who loved cricket. My mother loved cricket through the radio. And from high school, we would compete and I was a high jumper and a little bit of running. Men mostly played sports, but as women started to work, went out into the world of work, they started to get involved in sports because they saw it was a good reliever, stress reliever. What I have learned in sports and from netball, that most of the girls who organized clubs, they all became managers of something. Either they're principals of schools or they're managers in business. So sports help women in particular to be great managers. The thing that we have to ensure that the coaching and the physical education at primary level must be great. You will not get great athletes if you don't have a lot of curriculum in physical education and your coaching is not great. I think Cydonie Mothersill has set the bar for women. I think every young girl in this country wants to be a Cydonie Mothersill.
I have actually represented Cayman in 5 international sports. At the age of 10, at that point in time, it was really only netball. Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like around netball?
Oh, it was beautiful for us as young people to play netball at a young age. And that time, we used to play at the annex. The children that were next door, they just walked around the netball court and they enjoyed it.
It was more than sports then, it was a community.
It was a community thing at that point in time because we had basketball going on at the same time and football going on at the same time. So, you know, it was a family thing. I did everything in high school. Shot put, javelin, long jump, high jump, 100, 200, 400, relays, the 24-mile from East End. We did that every year. Myself, Merta, the whole, Paulina, the whole of us did that. Cross country. So I did everything in high school. We were the generation that actually brought sports, really brought sports. It's a pity that we didn't have the facilities at that time to really highlight the athletes that we had in those days. It's hard to pinpoint one sport that in the past 25 years that have really excelled, because when you sit down and think about it, we need the private sector to get more involved. If they could, then the sport would grow, because we as athletes need to travel a lot to get more exposure and experience, and it's not happening.
I attended Troop for Youth School, and they didn't have any type of organized sports. At best, we did ring around the roses, played on the merry-go-round, climbed the monkey bars, and that was it. It was quite difficult when I was attending a school that didn't support it. But when I turned, I think just before I turned 12, in February, my parents moved me to John Gray High School. And that was where I embraced everything that was being offered. And I have to give many, many thanks to Sue Tressida. She was my mentor. She was my phys ed teacher, and she encouraged me to take part in everything. As a young girl at home in the yard with my brother, my older brother, Rafaelito, he was very fit and active. I would oftentimes play football and just scrimmage. My parents were there and they allowed me to go, but I had to do all the chores, and because I guess back in those days they see sports as an extra thing. Well, I think sports has taught me many facets that's important to get one through life. Discipline, perseverance. You have to put in the hours and the hard work. And I think that if you take that anywhere, you can't do anything but succeed. The one moment that probably stood out would have been when I was on the podium, receiving my medal in Ponce, Puerto Rico, 1993. Middleweight Taekwondo, first international medal for the Cayman Islands. That was really special. One must applaud males and when they support us, and back then they supported me. I can't say that I ever felt uncomfortable within that group of team, those men training, because they made me feel so comfortable. And that was probably unheard of. Play sports and see the world.
We would come out here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, Saturday and Sunday. Right. That was the love that we had for football. In high school, I was with the PE teacher. We would allow her to sit and we would take the class. So she saw that myself and Molly and Moore was, you know, into sports, and so we would just make her sit down and we would take the classes. And we didn't have PE then. There was no PE classes then, but the boys would go out and play soccer, and that's the only sport that plays. So myself and like a girl, Christine, they would call us tomboys, and we would go and play with the boys. So, and that's how the love of football came with me. They treat you like a boy. So I got many licks. They didn't take pity on me. Because I would launch a shift, and when I shift, I laugh at them. So they didn't like being laughed after, so they would come back at me and probably slide tackle me or something, and I would have to take the licks. I lived right down the road from the annex field here, so we would walk here in the afternoons and we would just play around. So it was like you keeping out of trouble. We'd just come here at the annex and watch, like Renard Moxham play, Lee Ramon. He was young, but then he was, you know, and I always loved to see him dribble and score goals. So then when myself and Lee lived close together, so on summer holidays, that's what we used to do, play soccer or play cricket. So Lee taught me a lot of skills, because I would, like we say, I was next door neighbors with him, and so he would go out in the afternoon and we would just dribble around the ball and stuff. So most of my skills, I learned it from Lee Ramon. My dream was to become the first female national coach in Grand Cayman, and or to be a teacher, because I love to teach with kids. We didn't have the opportunity to go to university. We thought that, okay, then we could stay here, we could work, and then we get into the sports like that. But it was a lot of obstacles and whatever. So I decided, okay, then let me just decide if I can just work my way into the sports office, then I could be a part, then I could become a PE teacher that way. But that went down. That didn't went successful either. I don't feel that bad, because I say at least I paved the way for those there, you know, for the younger ones, and for someone to take it behind me to progress it. I feel great. I have some of the kids now that I taught in primary school that is on scholarships now, you know, great. I feel really good. But there are more opportunities. Then 15 years ago, there was no opportunities for us. We just play just for the pathway, just for the love of it.
We're a matriarchal society, so people like the premier right now, Mrs. Juliana O'Connor Conley, was, you know, one of the first PE teachers there, and former teachers of mine, Janice Bradshaw, Kay Bellino. Those were, you know, they were teachers in the classroom, but they were sportswomen also, so they pushed me to get involved. There isn't a sport I don't love. Well, maybe golf. I'm still learning to love golf. It's a little too slow, but there's just, it's everything. The passion, the camaraderie, the teamwork, everything about it. I played every sport, you name it. Swimming, running, track, volleyball. The only one I didn't play in high school was netball. I don't know. And I ended up coaching netball coming out of college. Went off to college, decided I was gonna teach history. Got into my junior year and said, I don't see myself in a classroom. I want to be outside. So added on a year and a half more onto my time in college and came out a PE teacher. Haven't looked back since.
I started swimming from a very early age. I played a lot of sports. My parents were very adamant on me doing a lot of after-school activities, so I got involved in a very early age. So when I started competing at the national level, going to CRIFT at 11, 12 years old, started getting medals. My first medal at 13 and 14, started winning stuff. And I really started realizing that I could actually pursue it, maybe get a scholarship, go away to school. I was pretty good at academics, but I wasn't a straight A student, so it was really good to have that on my applications when I was applying to colleges and all that kind of stuff. My parents kind of pressured me that I should be doing something like accounting or finance, but I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't focus on those things. I thought my heart was in studying sport management. I didn't see myself sitting behind a desk cramming over numbers, even though I kind of am right now. I have my master's in sport management. I studied sport administration at University of Miami, and it proposed itself for the Olympic Committee. Every year they send out applications for the MEMOS program, which is your master's in sport management, and it's very time consuming, so not very many people have been able to even be considered to apply for it, but it was very interesting. It was put on through the International Olympic Committee, and I started in Switzerland for 10 days. It was four modules. I started there, and then a couple months later I went to Kenya. I was there for 10 days, and then a couple months later Paris for 10 days, and then I finished in Switzerland where I graduated. When I started working with the Department of Sports in the summers, when I was here still training during summer vacation off of school, and that's when I started realizing that I could actually do something that I really loved. Everyone always tells you to make sure that you make a career out of something that you love to do, as opposed to just coming out of college or coming out of high school and just making money. But I could actually create a career out of it and do something that I really love to do and inspire others and get kids involved in sports and make sure that that it's more than just physical activity.
I used to play soccer and cricket and sail, but swimming's kind of taken over. Kind of naturally got into it. I think that was very important. I don't know if I would have started all the sports that I did by myself if I didn't have my family there to help me. It's good for you to exercise, and it's really fun, and most of the times you get to travel and you meet new friends, which is really good. I like to get into college and university by swimming. I don't know much of what I want to do yet so far.
I was not always a sports person, but my dad always wanted me to do track. I don't know where he got this track thing from, I guess because he's from Jamaica and it's so big there. So yeah, he led me into track from when I was like 6 or 7. So I've been training ever since.
What are some of the lessons that you've learned?
Determination and time management. What you have to do is you have to train hard. You practice what you preach. I've never understood that until I've reached this age, that you practice what you preach. Whatever you put in is what you get out of it. I mean, I'm not even sure what I want to be yet, but I know I want to go to the Olympics in 2016. I know that for sure. Because I want to keep it up, make everyone know that this is the way, this will help them in the future. But it's also really cool to have a lot of girls coming up to me asking me how is college. They want to go to college, they want to get into my school. And I mean, it's a good feeling.
It's something that you really want to do, something that you enjoy. Just get your best in it, put your foot out there, just have that cap on, pray before you do these things. But let's get that stride moving. And I wish the young ones, like we are home now, all the best.
It teach me discipline, and it teach me also I want to be a winner. I don't want to be a loser. I want to be a winner, and that's just in me.
Take your education seriously. Yes, go and play the sports, but make sure, because you have to fall back. There's something to fall back. I could get it, like myself, I have a knee injury for life, and I can't go and play sports. I would love to have played sports and go further with it, but I couldn't do it, football. But I'm just telling them, go for it, go for your dreams, but make sure that education, seriously study. Let that be a tool, let that be something to say, okay, I can get a serious education.
The biggest thing is staying dedicated and realizing that, big things can come from small places, and that they should just really look at the bigger picture and stick through the hard work.
Sports is something that they need to do every day to keep them healthy. They need to, it's going to keep them, their brains going, so that for them to do academics, that's what they need. It can take them a long way in terms of traveling all over the world. The many countries that I have traveled, from a teenager straight up to an adult at this point in time, so those are things that they can gain from playing lots of sports.
Humility, patience, self-discipline, hard worker. I mean, I could go on and on and on. It's just taught me so much things that I've taken away from that on the track that I had to learn to use off the track.
It teaches you discipline, helps keep you out of trouble. And I think sports is something everyone should be doing, no matter how old or how young they are.
I would advise them of all the positives that can be derived from being involved in sports, whether it's at a recreational level or an elite level. You can't lose. So I would advise every young lady to get involved in sports, make sports a part of their life.
Sport can take you to the moon and back. You can get scholarships. You can actually be famous. Once you work hard at it, there's always someone interested. There's always someone willing to help. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you it gives you a goal. It teaches you how to work hard. And if you do all those, put them together, you can accomplish something. You can get where you want. I'll tell you a very funny story. So I decided, well, there's two ways of looking at this. I can either try it and I die, my mother finds out, or I just ask her. So I go home one afternoon, I said to my mom, I said, Mom, all my friends are smoking cigarettes and I want to try. So she said, okay. She goes, I'll be home this evening. I'll never forget it. She sits down at my grandmother's kitchen table with a pack of Marlboro, the red pack ones. And she goes, you smoke? I said, really? She says, yeah, all of them, if you want. So I said, but this is great. I'm gonna give it my best shot. Well, I'm here to tell you I haven't had a cigarette since. And she was a mom that, she said, anything you wanted to do, you asked me first. And after hearing that from your mom, and you compare that with your friend's peer pressure, there was nothing to convince me that I need to do that because I can do it at home.